what could arguably have been one of the worst nights of the NFL season if it goes the wrong direction. Let's go to the highlights of last night. The Chiefs and the Broncos a mile high. And Patrick Mahomes, the question coming in was about the ankle. And in the warm-ups, look, he looks fine. He's running around. He looks okay. And then he looks pretty good here, too, throwing a 21-yard touchdown to McCole Hardman.
Look, he's right now in a tremendous groove with his wide receiver core. I don't care if he has one ankle, two ankles, no ankles, if he's out there barefoot. The guy just is in a nice groove and understands this offense as good as you possibly could.
But then came this. Second quarter, Chiefs are up 10-6. This is a 4th down and 1 from the 5-yard line. You see Mahomes on the sneak, and then just watch the body language, watch the expression, watch the helmet go off, and you can tell the difference between a player thinking he's hurt and a player thinking he's injured. The concern is overwhelming. Watch the right knee closely. You will see it get pinned in the pile. And then, more significantly, watch as they pop it back into place. I see the faces of all the football players on my set grimacing as they watch. Now, the good news is he would walk off the field under his own power. Look at the respect all the players on both teams showing for Patrick Mahomes as he goes off for x-rays. He'd be ruled out for the remainder of the game. Much more on his condition coming up in a few minutes. Meanwhile, a rest of the game to be played. And the Broncos held the Chiefs to just a field goal there, so it's 13-6, and then here comes that Kansas City defense.
Look, it was about time that they woke up last night, and they did along the front 7. They got after the passer in a way they haven't all year long, and they need to carry this forward now.
That's a defensive touchdown, so it's 20-6, and then here comes Matt Moore on in place of the injured Mahomes. And here's a nice play. You'll watch Tyreek Hill going all the way across the formation, getting behind the defense, and no one's going to catch him.
That's a tremendous touch pass. Just enough movement in the pocket by Matt Moore. He's not going to make you forget Pat Mahomes, but just be able to move just enough to get it in the playmaker's hands quickly and put it on them and let them run after the catch. Just let them do the work.
Among those celebrating after the win, Patrick Mahomes with his teammates. But, of course, the news not all good.
I feel terrible for Pat. I wish him well. I hope the best for him. I don't know what it is, but that was hard to see. But knowing you got to go in, you kind of got to get your head straight real quick and go try and win a ball game.
We've seen teams that let themselves down after one of your best players or the best player gets hurt, in particular the quarterback. And I was proud that our guys just stepped up and kept battling and really everybody upped their game, I thought.
So you saw Mahomes in there celebrating to some degree with his teammates afterwards. He would tweet this: awesome team win. Love my brothers. Thank you for all the prayers. Everything looking good so far. Hashtag God is good. Hashtag Chiefs Kingdom. Let's get to the man with all the information. That's our insider Adam Schefter joins us now. Schefty, what are we hearing on Mahomes?
Well, Greeny, I think right now the Chiefs believe this was the best case scenario, but that is prior to the MRI today and what amounts to basically the most important MRI in franchise history. The feeling going into that MRI is that Patrick Mahomes is going to be out at least 3 weeks, which would sideline him for games against the Packers, Vikings, and Titans. But we don't know what that MRI is going to show up. We don't know if it's going to reveal ligament damage. And if it reveals ligament damage, then it could be that Patrick Mahomes would face season-ending surgery. But again, going in, they don't believe that's the case, but they don't know that's the case. And that's why today's MRI is so important for this team going forward.
All right, we'll be obviously in touch with you all day long, Schefty, as we continue to wait for the results of that MRI. We showed you the Chiefs' upcoming next 6 games yesterday with their FBI chance of winning. Look at it today. All of these numbers have decreased by at least 5%, a 13% drop coming against their next opponent, which is the Packers. There's a bye week in there, you'll see, after their 4th game. They have 4 more games than their bye, if you're keeping close track of that. And I want to, as we bring this out to the table, Sanchez, start with you. Yep. You had a very similar injury while you were in college. Quickly take us through how that works.
Sure. So I'm not a doctor. Let's get that straight.
Right.
I'm just telling you from my own experience and speaking to doctors from the Jets and a former trainer from USC. When you dislocate your kneecap like I did, you dislocate it laterally. If it relocates itself on its own when you straighten your leg, that's more of a sublux. What they did and physically had to manipulate the knee to push it back in. The issue is underneath your kneecap. The doc talked about this chondral defect because once you manually push that kneecap back in, you're basically messing with the brake pad that's under your kneecap. And if you break any chunks off, that's the issue. That's what they're looking for in this MRI today. I guarantee
in your case, you came back and played 3 weeks later.
4 weeks later.
4
about
weeks
a month later. Yeah.
But it hindered you or did not? Were you fine?
Definitely hindered me. It's something you think about. You're going to be favoring it. He's definitely going to play with some sort of brace to kind of like on the outside, the lateral side of his knee. He's going to have some sort of C-joint brace to keep it gliding in track, because it's going to be prone to pop out now. Once it happens, you're prone to have it happen again.
Let me turn to you guys here quickly on this, because even before, when you see this happen, even before I started thinking about the impact on the Chiefs and the impact on their Super Bowl championship hopes, my first thought was, this is the worst thing for the league, that the quarterbacks, and particularly this one, make the game so watchable. That was actually the first thought I had.
Look, Andrew Luck's down, Cam Newton, he's not playing right now, and the Chiefs have 3 primetime games the rest of the year. And so what makes Pat Mahomes unbelievable? It's not just his arm talent, it's how dynamic he is. He can run around. So even if he comes back, like, is he going to be exactly the same guy that he was at the beginning of the season? Probably not. And so, yeah, this is going to hurt, because if you're not a diehard Kansas City fan or a diehard fan of another team, like, you're going to casually tune in to watch this guy play.
I agree with you. When you talk about the quarterbacks, the NFL has done everything that they can to protect the quarterbacks. Anything outside of now these fluke injuries that happened to Ben Roethlisberger, now also Patrick Mahomes. So when the quarterbacks are getting hurt, it does hurt the league. But there's still a lot of football out there with a lot of good players that we can tune into. So the NFL needs to kind of draw onto that. You help the marketing on that aspect for the other players.
All right, so Lewis, let's then spin it to the element of the Chiefs here. They are a team that has already lost a little bit of ground in a chase with the Patriots. They've lost a home game against the Texans, which is maybe the next team coming up. How does this impact them if he misses, let's call it 3 or 4 games?
Well, it obviously impacts their ability to make special plays. And he's the eraser. He's kind of like the equalizer for them when they're not playing and hitting on all cylinders as an overall football team. But what will happen now is kind of like the same thing. Like, I remember talking to Doug Peterson about this when Carson Wentz went out and when Nick Foles came in. Now Matt Moore just has to try and not be Pat Mahomes, because he's not. Now he just has to be a point guard. Just distribute the football. They're set up on offense enough so where they have enough playmakers to just get the ball in their hands quickly. Don't extend plays. Don't run. Look, you're not going to make those kind of plays Pat does. Just put it in the hands of Tyreek. Put it in the holes. Put it in the hands of McCole Hardman. Put it in the hands of Travis Kelce and let them do the work. And Andy will make sure that the offense funnels that way. And Matt's been around long enough to know better.
But
and that's
Lou,
where
we need to talk about the defense also.
That was where I was going to go next, because their defense has
fumble.
been a major hindrance.
Correct.
They can't even get off the field in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, even with Patrick Mahomes, as poor as the defense had played, aside from last night,
sure,
still saying, look, they're a wild card team. They're going to lose in the wild card and maybe divisional round. If the defense steps up, the way that they played against the Broncos, with the pressure, with the turnovers, the takeaways, the touchdowns, then you don't have to worry as much during this stretch when you don't have Mahomes. You have to worry about them down the road now, obviously, when you face the Patriots and better teams. But the defense has to take the onus that the theme of this team is now defensive as opposed to offensive.
And the key, what happened last night, they were able to stop the run early in the game. They were able to score and get a lead. The Kansas City Chiefs have a good pass rush. They've always had a good pass rush. The problem is when you're playing teams and they can run the football on you and you're not scoring like the Chiefs, they can continue to run the football and wear them down like the Texans that were able to do, like the Colts were able to do. That's what changed the math for them last night, was the lead, and they shut the run down early. They discouraged it, and then they were able to feast on Joe Flacco.
I mean, let's not forget also, I mean, they were playing against one of the worst offensive lines in the football. The Denver Broncos have a whole nother set of issues that were really brought to light last night. But there's no question, Frank Clark, actually, it was like his introduction to the NFL for 2019 last night. And they've been waiting on that. And there's no doubt that now they need to go ahead and continue that on forward, because if they don't, then look, with Pat or not with Pat, they were going to be in trouble anyway.
A quick final thought on this, and obviously we will have much more on this as our morning continues here. But Sanchez, you were telling me in the meeting this morning how tough it is to be a guy like Matt Moore, just get up, go in there, and now have to sort of keep that ship afloat for several weeks.
And I said it tongue-in-cheek, but I've been in restaurants and bars, and you hear somebody say something about, oh, you know, Sanchez, when he played for the Jets, he was this, that, and the other. And I've never batted an eye, fine. I heard something last night, and people were like, oh, Matt Moore's in, he sucks. I literally jumped out of my seat. I was like, hey, man, you don't know how hard it is. And I wouldn't even say that for myself. You go to bat for a guy like that, because I've been in that situation. But like you guys said, everybody else is going to have to step up their game and make it as easy as possible on this guy. He's played a lot of football, but that doesn't mean it's a guaranteed success. So my hat's off to him. This is not an easy position. Just I wish him the very best.
Again, so this is, I mean, Shefty said it. It's the most important MRI in franchise history. It's the most important MRI of the NFL season. It will definitely determine whether the Chiefs at some point again become a Super Bowl contender, or most likely do not. We'll have much more football as we go. But let me get you to the Bronx last night. The other huge game on the schedule, of course, was Game 4 of the ALC. for the biggest game of the day, which will be played as the last game of the day. Eagles and Cowboys. Philly off its worst loss of the season against the Vikings for the first time in franchise history. Meanwhile, Dallas has lost 3 straight games after starting a season 3-0. Carson Wentz, 5th in the NFL in total QBR, 12 touchdowns, 4th most in the sport. He's been an underdog against Dallas twice in his career, lost both games. Dak Prescott leads the NFL in total QBR. He's 3rd in passing yards, and he was asked about getting up to play his division rival.
Right now it's about focusing on ourselves. Like how much does this mean to you? We're 3-3. We're in a spot with a chance to play a big-time game, to play a division rival, somebody that we're very familiar with, know they're familiar with us. If you can't bring your best for this game, and if you can't prepare your best each and every day, as I say, something's wrong with you. So I know I am. I know a bunch of these guys are, and we'll be ready to go.
You know, obviously it's a huge game with enormous implications in the division, but I feel like all week, at least on this show, it has also become a referendum on the 2 quarterbacks who were drafted the same year with totally different expectations. Right now, if I told you you could have one or the other quarterback, are you taking Wentz or are you taking Dak?
I'm taking Wentz. I've been someone who's been a big supporter of his and someone who really believes in what he has both mentally and physically as far as makeup is concerned. Although, look, Dak is someone who you support and you have to give him his props and you have to respect him as well. Carson's been kind of operating at a deficit this year ever since game 1 in terms of the weaponry that he's had around him. And there's no way of getting around that. Alshon missed multiple games. Deshaun has not played in almost a month. And quite honestly, his wide receiver core has let him down in terms of the number of drops. So for him to still be top 5, top 10 in passing efficiency is quite honestly, it's remarkable. Not to mention the fact that they continue to have to play from a deficit because the defense has just been bludgeoned.
Now, Sanchez may fight you on this because
Yes.
you are the president of the Dak Prescott fan club. Do you remain that despite the Jets and Sam Darnold taking him apart last Sunday?
I absolutely do. As Dak's in-house counsel, I'd like to say. No, honestly, I just want us to talk about Dak the same way we talk about all these other quarterbacks. When things aren't right around him, I hope we're talking in a fair way. He hasn't had all his weapons either. Tyron Smith hopefully is back this week. That changes everything. If they get that running game going, when Randall Cobb and Amari Cooper are healthy, we saw what happened those first couple weeks. And when things aren't right on offense, when we're going for it on 4th down instead of kicking a field goal and then we give up a 96-yard touchdown, that was the game last week. I'm sorry, the Jets aren't a very good football team right now, but they found some momentum in those 2 plays back-to-back.
Yeah, you mean when you go for it on 4th down and run a quarterback sweep.
That was
to the left
issue.
side with your
Not
offensive
just
tackle
go
out of
for
the
it,
game.
What was it? That didn't jive.
Well,
with
it
me.
is one of the reasons there's been a lot of questions about the Cowboys coaching this week.
Yeah.
But why don't you break a tie here? Are you going Carson or are you going Dak?
Don't.
I'm going to have to go with Dak.
Thank you.
For the main reason is this Eagles secondary, Lewis?
But he doesn't play secondary. He doesn't play in the secondary.
I know, but
But that's not the question.
He's going. It's a much more advantageous situation. The Eagles' top 3 corners, when they are targeted, their passer rating is 121. Pat Mahomes last year was 114.
Hold on. So you're saying who's going to win this game? Not who? We're asking who would you pick if you were starting a football team?
I thought we were picking who's going to be better in this game on Sunday.
What about if you're picking a team? Period.
This might determine the whole division or who makes the playoffs because the NFC's crowded. I don't know if
I'm worried about
NFC
the Eagles.
East
I'm worried.
is getting 2 teams in. I think they're getting 1. So whoever wins this,
no doubt.
You know, I think there are a lot of people who are of the opinion that the Eagles may have blown their biggest opportunity of the year this week by not being the team that acquired Jalen Ramsey. If there was one team in the sport that felt like it was Jalen Ramsey away from winning the Super Bowl, I think it was the Eagles.
Or let's just say a Jalen Ramsey away from, making sure that they're a serious contender in the end, and that at least they're a Final Four team. No question about it. Look, they have nobody really in the back end who can cover. You saw what Minnesota did to them. They were picking them apart. They were saying, here, Adam, you have one. Stephon, you have one. Adam, you have one. Stephon, you have one. It's not good enough. You've heard rumblings out of there already from other players saying we dropped the ball on this. I can tell you this, though. They were aggressive in trying to acquire him.
It's not for lack of trying.
I mean, what was given up for him.
Every week.
Look, what the Rams gave up for him, I don't know many teams that would have done that.
The Rams gave up 2 first-round picks, and they will still have to sign him to what we assume will be an enormous contract.
Question.
Was it worth it? I guess time will tell. We will make predictions on that game as we continue. We are just getting started on this Football Friday here. Still coming on Get Up. The Broncos are going nowhere fast. So which NFL team should be calling John Elway right now and making an offer for Von Miller? It certainly feels as though that is one to watch over the next 2 weeks and ahead. Before he even plays a real game, is there serious concern about Zion's health? Woj with the latest on the knee coming up. Just getting rolling. You're watching Get Up on ESPN.